Do you want to live a life of freedom and adventure? Are you wanting more than the daily grind? Me too. Welcome to the Emma Lovell Show, a place where we talk about living a life you love now. I'm your host, Emma Lovell, and my number one value is freedom. I've spent the last 14 years running a business and traveling the world, and now I take my husband and toddler along for the adventure too. It's possible, and I know you can create a life doing what you truly love as well. This podcast will inspire, motivate, and encourage you to go after your dreams, to create a life you love and to live it now, not wait for retirement or someday in the future. I'll be sharing episodes weekly about how I harmonize business, travel, and self-care. I'll also bring on incredible guests to share their journeys, the wins, the challenges, and how they're creating a life they love. Let's jump in and get dreaming. This is a space for you to manifest a life you love. I would like to acknowledge and recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of this place, now known as Australia. I am grateful for the continuing care of the land, waterways and skies where I work, live, listen, learn and play. From here on Yugambeh country and from wherever you are listening, I pay my respects to the elders past and present. Hello and welcome to the Emma Lovell Show. I am your host, Emma Lovell, and I'm excited to be talking today about bleisure as the future of work-life balance. Now, balance is a word that I don't love because I think it's a fallacy and I think it's setting us up for failure. Honestly, just to open real gently there, funnily enough, I got a lesson in balance this morning because I was riding a horse and I turned up and that was the thing that we had to work on was balance. And so in that context, yes, balance was very important. I had to be centered. I had to make sure that I was even so the horse knew that he could go because I had to be in the right position. However, when it comes to work and life, I don't think there's ever going to be sort of a time where everything is perfectly balanced. And if that is the goal, then when anything is unbalanced, it feels like a disaster. And so the thing that I'm aiming for is work-life harmony. And that's where your work and life can sort of flow together and work interchangeably, because it's just not a case that we can work, rest and play 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours in a 24-hour period. It's never going to be those equal, even parts. Sometimes work is going to require more. Sometimes life is going to require more. And in bleisure terms, for me, bleisure, and the way I define it, is business, travel and self-care. And so again, we're not going to have 33.33% in each area. But over time, I feel that there can be harmony. And so the goal of harmony and things working together, and when things flow and they move and everything's kind of just, you know, that feeling when everything's just kind of like, yes, the business is good, work is good, life, you know, my family is good, my friends are good. I'm working out, I'm taking care of myself, I'm getting some rest. Like that's when everything's kind of just working together. And that is a greater goal. And you can check in with yourself more regularly on that, as opposed to getting this final state of everything being worked out. And so bleisure, let me just go back a few steps, because bleisure, the term, has been around for many years, typically used in the travel industry, and it means combining business and leisure. So let's think about some examples of bleisure. That would be, say, going on a conference or going to a work event and then extending and staying on. So you go to a conference, it's in a lovely place. That in itself is bleisure because you've got the business in the leisurely environment, but then you take a few days extra to do your own personal travel. The other way that you can do it is that you're going to the work event. Again, a conference is a great example, but not everyone goes to conferences. So then they go, oh, I can't do bleisure. But potentially you have to go somewhere for work. And for me, that might be speaking or doing presenting, or, you know, I can actually just take my business with me and then I take my family along. But, you know, we say where the hotel is covered, the car hire is covered by the business or the organization. And you might just ask, is it okay if my family came and joined me? I'll pay for their bits. They'll join me during the trip. And so that is an idea of bleisure. So that's a very simplified version. For me, I've taken it a step further, and it is that bleisure life. And I realized that I have been traveling the world, making money, both in my business and in contract roles and in various random means, sometimes pet sitting or um, getting cash back or through a commission to with a client in India. You know, there are many ways to make money, investment property, shares, all different ways. And that provides and funds for my travel and my lifestyle. The thing that was missing at times, though, was working too hard and playing too hard and then not having the self-care. So we need the self-care element. We need to make sure that we are resting, including breaks of self-care. And I'm very delighted to be going on a trip very soon and look forward to some rest and some downtime and some just being in different space. And so to me, travel is self-care. And so bleisure is the new work-life balance. Let's stop talking about work-life balance. like, and stop separating them so much. I know that the concern with bleisure is that people think that then their work is going to bleed into their personal life a lot. But that's where boundaries come in. And that's part of self-care, is having boundaries and deciding on where your boundaries are, what the limitations are. And so that then you're making the most of your time when you're not working. And for me, I enjoy the work that I'm doing. And if I can do that work in a wonderful, lovely location, today I went to a networking event, that's working. I went to a co-working, so we were in a cafe, but we were all working and discussing our businesses, and that is work. And so it's kind of rethinking what work looks like. And I think that we only think of work sometimes as pounding away on the computer or going to an office or going to a physical location where you do the job. But bleisure gives you the opportunity to sometimes take your work with you, but sometimes just to have that appreciation and gratitude for what your work can allow you to do. Some people have to travel a lot for work and it becomes a chore. So then it's thinking about how can I think about this differently and see the opportunity and the possibility, and potentially the part of that is difficult is that you're leaving your family all the time. You're traveling for work all the time. It's very short burst trips and you just get on a plane and you go there and then you come back, or you're on the road constantly. How could you make that more leisurely or enjoyable? And potentially it's just building in a buffer. So it's having that conversation. Hey, could I have an extra day here? Could I take the flight that gives me a layover so that I get more rest? It's why a lot of companies do business class and for their staff, because they need them to be rested. They need them to be comfortable. They need them to have that time so that then they can perform at their best. So how could you get some leisure or self-care or travel into your work, or make that travel more comfortable? So I also just want to talk about how things have changed a bit since the pandemic as well. We have seen a kind of ability to do more remote work and hybrid work. We know that we don't have to work in the office, that we don't have to be in person to deliver something. I do love in-person connection, but I also love what this time did for us in that we got comfortable with doing work online. And so the world opened up as well. I have clients all over Australia, I have clients in other parts of the world, because they know that they can get a similar experience. And yes, it would be fun to be in person, but they don't need it. And so you have that opportunity to work in different ways. For some, I know you would be saying, yeah, well, my work made me go back to work. Okay, well, it's not just about potentially you do need to go to the office, but it's, for me in the bleisure life, it's like, how can you better use that time outside of work then? And sometimes we're not making the most of the time outside of work, you know, and so then that could be a better opportunity. But I do think it's still up for discussion, and potentially you have to go to the office 90% of the time. But like my colleague the other day, asked to come and, well, she's not a colleague, she's a friend actually. She asked her workplace if she could do 2 days work from home. But the home that she was working from was the rose farm where I was hosting a private retreat, and she came along and we had a beautiful time with 4 other women at this gorgeous rose farm. She worked in the day. She showed up to all her meetings, but then she took the Friday off. So she had 2 days where she had to work from home, and then she took the Friday off. And it's just a conversation and a discussion. And so had she not been able to do that, she would have had to take time off in order to come, or she would have had to only have one day and one night at the property. only be limited to 2 days in the weekend. But we were only there Wednesday to Saturday. So she asked and was able to do her work. And so the sacrifice or the choice she made was to do some work while in that environment and then get more time to enjoy around her work time. So do you see how that can be a possibility with a conversation? And sometimes business owners, we don't even need to have this conversation. We don't even need to ask, but we still think the only way to work is to be in our office. The only way to do my work is from the place that I've said is my workplace. When you could work from a cafe, you could work from a hotel, you could work from a friend's place, you can work from the lounge, from the bedroom, from wherever feels good for you in the flow. I mostly come into my office to record, to have some meetings if I need to be sort of sat. But a lot of my meetings I love doing on the phone. I love walking. I like in summer, not right now, it's winter, I'll stand in the pool and do my meetings. We can do our work. The brilliance of technology is that we can do our work from anywhere. It's just deciding and making the choice to do that. So you get to decide what that remote work can look like. I don't think travel is also a luxury. I don't think travel should be just the reward. I feel like travel is in itself self-care, and travel can be so good for your mental health. And so sometimes instead of going, I'll work, and then I'll get to have my trip, then I'll go away. When I've done all these things, then I'll have a holiday. But travel doesn't need to be a luxury in that sense. Travel can be the inspiration or the motivation. It can be the thing that helps you get back to yourself, that helps you feel like yourself, that helps you feel energized so that you can continue to work. And that's the Bleisure Life. That's the harmony. That's the understanding what you need. And when I say travel as well, you're going, again, you can go, oh, well, I can't go during the week. Okay, but could you go for a night away, one night away? And it doesn't have to be in a hotel. It doesn't have to be like a 5-star hotel. It doesn't have to be luxury. It can be a getaway. It can be putting yourself in a different environment, because that is travel as well. And so having a rethink about what does travel look like and what do you enjoy? And look, people are tired and they're burnt out. And that's because they're saying someday, one day, when all these things align, when I have the balance, then I'll get to rest. Then I'll get to have my trip. Then I'll get to travel. One day when I'm that other person who's all got it all figured out, I've got enough money, I've got all my work's taken care of and totally calm, and my family's all good and everything's just great, then I'll go and have a lovely holiday. Like, but before then, you're probably going to burn out. You're probably going to bust. You're probably going to hit a wall, because we can't keep going like that. And so finding what the harmony looks like for you, what work, travel, and self-care, and what that combination is in this life, in this way of working, can look like for you. And as I say, it's not just for business owners. Potentially people who are working in a 9 to 5 have a better opportunity, because you are paid, you're paid holidays, you've got paid sick leave, and there might be the ability to negotiate, or there's a way to potentially just have more breaks around your work. Because to me, that's the Bleisure Life. Doesn't mean doing your work in another location. If that's not possible, that's okay. But how could you be maximizing the time around work? And I have a colleague who's 9 to 5, or she does longer, 9 to 6 or 7, because she does a 9-day fortnight, so that she can do a 3-night long weekend one week, and she does a 2-night long weekend or weekend away. And she takes short trips that help her to have that adventure, have that inspiration, have that top up of her tank, and then come back refreshed. And so a few tips just to get started. Identify for you, I guess, what's missing now, what's lacking, why are you not doing the things, what fills your cup? Is it self-care? Is it travel? Maybe you're not in a season for travel, that's okay, but maybe just putting yourself in different environments could be great. Working from a different place for one day could be your version of Bleisure. Where are you lacking creativity that's making you feel uninspired? So these are the questions that I ask for living a life you love, which to me is the Bleisure Life. Identify what is missing and then what actually fills your cup. This morning I went horse riding. I just feel like a craving to be with horses. So I'm learning to horse ride, and It helps me to switch off. I'm going to get back to Pilates as well, because when I'm on the reformer machine, I have to focus. And now I want to do Pilates to help my core, which will help my horse riding. So, these are things that are going, really helping me to feel replenished and restored. Find windows for travel or leisure in your work calendar. So where can you just find to slot it in, to start including it? Doesn't have to be that big 4-week holiday, that big Europe trip that you save up for 4 years, or the 4 weeks of leave you get once a year. So stop waiting for that time when it's all going to be figured out, and work out where are the little pockets where you could give yourself just that top up of the tank and get a little bit of travel and inspiration around your work as it currently is. And if you have the opportunity to take your laptop with you to make that trip a little bit longer, like my friend did at the Rose Farm, even better. And it's really important to then communicate your needs clearly. So talk to your employer, talk to your clients, talk to your family, talk about what you need and what is possible. And that can be a discussion and that can be a negotiation. And if you don't ask, you won't receive. And I'm sure you're thinking of a bunch of excuses, but potentially that's not even a reality if you have the conversation with them. And I really encourage you to start small. Just one night away, one day working from a different location, one long weekend, just making the most of leaving Friday afternoon and coming back Sunday night. Even a little retreat, just a little retreat. And I run them, so you're welcome to come and join me. But these are just some ideas of how you could have the Bleisure Life as the new version, the future of work-life balance. And if you want support with this, I do offer one-to-one coaching. So you can work with me. I do 60-minute sessions, and I have one-off sessions or packs. But you can also come into the Bleisure Life plan, where we are creating this plan and making it work for you, finding out what your travel, self-care, and business/work harmony is. You get to do all this work in depth, going through your self-paced course. There's a WhatsApp group for support. We do have rounds of live calls throughout the year. And it's just a way for you to tap into what you want and what living a life you love really looks like. So that is the bleisureLife.au. All the information about all of my offers and services is on my website, emmalovell.au, but specifically for the Bleisure Life plan, we have bleisureLife.au. You can find it through the Emma Lovell website. If in doubt, links in the show notes, or you can send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on the Emma Lovell Show. Thank you for listening, lovely one. I hope this has inspired you to dream big and start creating a life you love today. If you love what you're hearing, don't forget to follow and rate on Spotify, and rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. It helps other awesome people to find this podcast and get motivated and inspired as well. Want to stay connected? Come and join the Live a Life You Love group on Facebook, or connect with me on Instagram, emmalovell.au. The same as my website, but all the details are in the show notes, lovely. I'll see you next episode for more inspiration, motivation, and freedom seeking. Now go out there and live a life you love.